The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
This is what you can look forward to on this bat-tastic episode 491 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
Before I show you, I gotta put on my white gloves.
But they initially cast Tim Curry to be the Joker.
Oh my. Wow, that would have been a whole different Joker.
This was not Super Friends. This was a realistic drama with high stakes.
What did you call the animation style?
Dark Deco?
Dark Deco.
That just tickles me.
Kevin tells me in his interview, which you'll read in Volume 3, he treated Batman like Hamlet.
Are you ready?
Off to Neverland!
Here we go!
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets lab.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never Land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers, and a happy Veterans Day. So now, what is your favorite Batman era? Well, if the answer is the animated series, then get ready to be hit by knowledge. Lots and lots of knowledge in this episode. But first, we want to welcome you back to Skywalking Through Neverland. I am Richard Woloski, but now everyone please say hello to my bat-tastic sweetie wife, Sarah.
That's right, we got our Batman shirts on, we are ready to go, and which logo is it?
This is the ultimate 1989 Batman logo, the only logo that's fit the print.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you were here before we started recording, we had a big discussion on the ultimate Batman logos.
Maybe listen to our outtakes. All right.
Yes. The Ben Affleck one, not even in the running.
Well, we are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, and pop culture fandom. So imagine a big Wookiee hug from us and a little sprinkle of pixie dust.
And what would Batman do?
And a Batman cape whoosh.
Cape flourish.
Yes. For our family of Skywalkers. Which I have to note, when Agatha does her little flourish of her
long
coat,
jacket,
her jacket, several times, she does it like 3 times. Mm-hmm. It's definitely modeled after Batman. That's all it is.
No one can fling a cape like Michael Keaton.
That's right. All right, well, those are all for you, our family of Skywalkers. Now we are live on the Skywalking Through Neverland YouTube channel right now. So make sure that you subscribe. Just search YouTube for Skywalking Through Neverland. Click subscribe and then click the little bell that pops up right after that for notifications for when we go live. Like today, it was very much a surprise for these wraparounds.
Yeah, and your notifications will be dinging quite a bit because we get a lot of stuff coming up on YouTube.
That's right. Now, in this second episode of this week, Bob Miller returns to tell us all about his new book series, Batman, The Animated Interviews, Volumes 1 through 5, which comes out on November 15th. So not long to wait at all. These books cover all facets of the Batman universe and are a must-have for all Batman fans and also make a great stocking stuffer.
Mm-hmm. Also coming up, we start our Thanksgiving celebration early by giving thanks to the Skywalking Force.
Now, we are being sponsored by Small World Vacations. They are a diamond-level Disney vacation planner travel agency and can help book your trip to a Disney park around the world and also on a Disney cruise. And best of all, their service is free of charge. So check it out and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
Now, we are recording this from Long Beach, California on November the 11th, 2024.
So, Richard, what happened today in Star Wars history?
I've been waiting so long for this. So long. 45 years ago today, on November the 11th, 1979, The Art of Star Wars is released by Del Rey Books. This was the book to own as a kid. Throw out all your school textbooks because this is what you need. In fact, I got mine right here.
Oh.
But first, before I show you, I got to put on my white gloves. Okay, this is how precious this book is. I got to put on these gloves so it doesn't get smudged.
Now, did you get this in 1979?
Oh, I sure did. I'm sure I got it on November the 11th, 1979. This is The Art of Star Wars.
Can I show everyone
Get your hands away from this. Now, this tome...
But I want to show everyone...
This Bible includes the movie script, the international Star Wars movie posters, which were assembled by our good friend Craig Miller. There's comic strips referencing Star Wars, various Marvel comic covers, young fan art, and a letter from a 9-year-old to the Star Wars fan club looking for the addresses for the Star Wars heroes because he wants to write to them real bad. That's what he says.
Is this you? Is this
I wish it were me.
letter?
I don't know how this kid got his letter in The Art of Star Wars.
I'm sure it was nepotism. Yeah, see, there you go.
Yeah. Now, this is the first published mention of the title Episode 4, A New Hope. A lot of people think it was from the 1981 Star Wars re-release, but no, the first time A New Hope, Episode 4, A New Hope was ever mentioned was in this book.
Wow.
So this had so much going for it. And like last week we had said that the actor who played Whir, the cantina bartender, his name was revealed in this book as Ted Burnett. Before the internet came along, we had no idea who played this character.
Got it. All right. Well, we're going to have to do an episode where we break down this book.
We're definitely going to. There's so much in here right now. In fact, we put out a Today in Star Wars History video, and a lot of people said this was my book to own. This was my Bible. This was my everything. Because people, back then, this was everything you needed to know, including the movie script.
Wow. What?
Yes.
Not the whole script is in there, right?
The whole script is in here. It's the fourth draft script put together by Mick Garris, who was the R2-D2 operator on a lot of the Star Wars shows, and he's a big horror film director now. He is the one that put this together for the script.
It doesn't seem big enough to have the script and other stuff.
Look at that over there. See, you go.
Wow.
Yeah. See, all right, let me show you right over here.
Oh, with some storyboards.
Storyboards too, yes. Now, I can only
Wow.
open it so much because the glue from the binding is starting to let go. So
It's falling
that's
off.
why I had to have my white gloves.
Vengeance. I am the knight. I am Batman.
Can't hide from me. I've been taught by the best.
After the release of 1989's Batman, it was hard to imagine where they could take the Caped Crusader. Then in 1992, Warner Brothers Animation gave us the highly successful Batman the Animated Series.
Everything you wanted to know about this series can be found in the 5-volume set, Batman the Animated Series, by our good friend Bob Miller. The first of these books will be out November 15th.
Hey, Bob!
Hey, Richard and Sarah. All 5 volumes will be out on November the 15th.
Whoa!
Oh, wow. Well, that eliminates one of our questions right off the bat.
Yeah, it's the hardbound and in color, and then the paperbacks come out next February 2025, 1 volume at a time. So volume 1 paperback in black and white will be out February, volume 2 March, volume 3 April, then 4 May, and then 5 June. So
you might want to pick up that phone. It might be Commissioner Gordon.
Oh no!
Was that a landline?
Saying, yeah, that's Commissioner Gordon saying, Bob, how can you still have a landline?
In 2024.
Is that phone big and red and underneath one of those cake toppers?
My lips are sealed.
All right. You know what? Let's get into you and Batman. Where does Batman rank in your top 10 favorite superheroes?
Well, I've never really given it much thought because I enjoy a lot of superheroes. My first love was Fantastic Four by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Joe Sinnott and Artie Simek, the letterer. I was more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan. But interestingly enough about Batman the Animated Series, they use Marvel writing techniques for that show. You know, they flesh out the characters more than they did at DC.
Mm.
And I liked Legion of Superheroes at DC as well. You know, I like the mix of powers, but, Fantastic Four had more personality between the characters. So Batman, I reserve just for the animated series, the Bruce Timm version, the first one. And because by the time I started covering the show for Starlog and Comic Scene, I knew the people who were making the show. So I had interviewed Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, Eric Radomski, Kevin Altieri, the director, and Kevin Conroy. And this was when the show was in production.
The voice of Batman. For those who don't know, Kevin Conroy is the voice of Batman.
The definitive voice.
Yeah, sorry, Adam West.
Yeah, and so 30 years later, I thought, well, I have the nucleus for a book. And so I started interviewing all the other creatives and executives who were involved in making the show. And it just ballooned into 5 volumes because, word of mouth spread. Oh, you need to talk to so-and-so. You need to talk to so-and-so. You need to talk to so-and-so. And that's what happened. So I interviewed people like Margaret Lesh, who was head of Fox Kids. I talked to Michael Uslan, who was responsible for the 1989 Batman film and started everything, all the interest on Batman. I talked to Paul Dini. Again, this is my 3rd interview with him for Batman.
And give us the Star Wars connection with Paul Dini.
Paul Dini wrote and story edited Ewoks and Droids for Lucasfilm. And you could see the quality of his writing in that show for, if you looked at the bylines of certain episodes. And so he went on from there to go to Beanie and Cecil for John Kricfalusi, the new Beanie and Cecil show. And so I was able to see him in person there. And I believe I had interviewed him also for Comic Scene. But I was actually hired by John Kricfalusi by sheer coincidence to work on that show as a layout artist. John was training people. He called me all the way out, me being in Texas, and he took a chance. He had seen my work as replicating the early Hanna-Barbera styles. Ed Benedict and Dick Bickenbach, the early designs for Huckleberry Hound, Quick Draw McGraw, Yogi Bear, Snooper and Blabber, all those early designs. And John liked that. So he wanted to have that look replicated in the Beanie and Cecil series, sort of replicated, just combined with Bob Clampett's sensitivity and John's own brand of humor. And so he called me out in Texas, and he had seen an article that I had written and illustrated with the early Hanna-Barbera characters. This is in a magazine called Animato. And by sheer coincidence, John Kricfalusi had an interview in there in the same issue. I had the Hanna-Barbera article. And he saw my illustrations, and he decided, I'll give him a chance, bring him out to Burbank, and we will try him out, and he will be an asset for our show.
Before you get too much into the nucleus of the book, for those who don't know about Batman the Animated Series, can you give us a little background?
Here's the thing. Batman the Animated Series began when the 1989 Batman feature did gangbusters at the box office. So Warner Brothers decided to needed another venue for merchandise to profit from it. So
There
they
you go.
thought,
Makes sense.
Okay, done and
That's
done.
the basis.
That's the answer for everything.
oh yeah. So they needed an animated series, and they timed the animated series to come out in time with the sequel, Batman Returns. Because a quality show like Batman the Animated Series takes a long time to produce. They had to develop the Dark Deco style. They had to
Did you just call it the Dark Deco style?
Dark Deco style. That's what
I
they called
love
it.
that. Wow.
And they were inspired by the Fleischer Superman cartoons.
Okay.
So Warner Brothers was going to syndicate it, and they ultimately did. But Warner's the president of Warner Brothers Animation was Gene McCurdy, and Gene thought, okay, Warner's wants a Batman show. Let's have it dark and sinister. Vigilante of the Night. So she sort of canvassed the crew on Tiny Toon Adventures. Bruce Timm was a storyboard artist. Eric Radomski was a background painter. And unknown to each other, they submitted visuals for the show. And Gene looked these over and says, you guys have the chops. This is exactly what we're looking for. So what they did was Warner's commissioned a $90,000 pilot. I call it a pilot, a demo reel, mimicking that style. So Eric Radomski, who is from Ohio, Eric knew somebody up in Canada who did these commercials for Zeller's department stores. And I show images from these commercials in my book. Greg Duffel of Lightbox Productions. He was responsible for that. And Eric thought, well, Eric can probably pull off this pilot, this demo. Let's use him. And so they did. So this 90-second pilot came back, and while it was in production, Warner decided to greenlight the Dark Knight anyway, the Dark Deco version, because they had seen the artwork. And also, Gene McCurdy was friends with Margaret Lesh at Fox Kids. So Warner's was looking for an outlet for the show. Margaret was looking for a show for Fox Kids. And she wanted something that was different from the other three commercial networks, ABC, NBC, CBS. Because, bland programming. We got to find a way to get the kids to come to our network. We wanted a show with angst. We wanted people to invest themselves in our characters. So that's where X-Men and Batman came from, because they were more hard-edged, more hard-hitting than the competition. So Margaret, who was friends with Gene, and had been ever since their days together at NBC and Hanna-Barbera. So they knew each other very well as friends. And so they landed the deal to put Batman onto Fox Kids on Saturday morning, on Fox Kids afternoon, and in prime time for a brief time. It was in prime time. So Eric and Bruce, they had to prove themselves. They never produced before, but they proved their worth with this 90-second demo reel. And so then they went through another period of gestation where they designed the cast. They had to, get the crew. A lot of artists were already on Tiny Toons Adventures, so they had to spread the net to grab talent.
Yeah, I could have sworn that the movie, The Mask of Phantasm, was the initial kickoff, like the Clone Wars was for the animated series on Cartoon Network, how that movie kicked off the series of the Clone Wars. I thought The Mask of Phantasm came out first, and that kicked off the series. But that came out in 1993, the movie, whereas the series came out in 1992. Is there a reason why they had a theatrical film during the first couple of seasons, or did they just go, hey, this is really big, let's see if we can really get another Batman movie out there, because the Batman movies are doing really well?
The animated series came out at about 2 months after the release of Batman Returns.
Yeah.
The live action sequel. And so the following year was coming around, and Warner's thought, let's make a direct to video. The show's doing really well. It's trouncing Goof Troop in the ratings.
Wow.
Goof Troop, the Disney Afternoon at the time, they were head to head. Batman was killing Goof Troop. And so Warner saw that they had a pretty good investment in Batman the Animated Series. And Fox commissioned another, I think, 20 episodes to air on Saturday mornings. But in between seasons 1 and 2, they decided to work on a direct-to-video. Well, an executive at Warner saw some CG animation. Do you remember at the very beginning of Mask of the Phantasm? It's a landscape CG view of Gotham City.
Oh.
The camera's going in between the buildings. It's all computer generated. And the executive saw that and he said, "Oh, this is pretty good. Let's make a movie out of this."
Wow.
Which is what happened with the Clone Wars. The animation was so good, Lucas said, "This needs to be a movie."
Nice.
So they scheduled the movie. They weren't prepared for it, the crew. They had designed it for a direct-to-video, or rather, direct-to-video, but then they had to expand the film aspect ratio to fit movie screens.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to reformat the whole thing. I mean, they're already in production when the announcement came. They had to call their people in Japan to say, "Hey, we're going to make this a movie now." So they had to scramble to get it all done and in time for a Christmas Day 1993 release.
Wow. So
I talk about that in volumes 1 and 2.
Okay.
Now, it seems like they were going with the same tradition as the 1966 TV series. Let's get all these big name actors to portray the villains. Mark Hamill as the Joker, Paul Williams as the Penguin. I forgot all about that. When I talked to Paul Williams on Talking Apes, I wish I had remembered that, because that would have been so awesome to have him do a little penguin. Then they brought back Roddy McDowell as the Mad Hatter. Now, I'm wondering why they didn't have him reprise his role as the Bookworm.
From the 1966 TV series.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. I'm sure he got the role because he played the Bookworm.
Yeah, but why not reprise the same character? That would have been so awesome.
Oh, I sure would. They probably had their reasons, meaning that it may have involved some kind of licensing issue.
That's true.
It's always licensing.
It's only recently that they were able to acquire showing rights to the Adam West Batman show.
Okay.
But they initially cast Tim Curry to be the Joker.
Oh, my. Wow, that would have been a whole different Joker.
So they went from Tim Curry to Mark Hamill. What's the story there?
One of the producers wasn't satisfied with Curry's voice, but in Volume 1, Eric Radomski reveals the real reason why. And I'll let people buy the book and see for themselves. But you're right. They did hire celebrities, live-action celebrities, to voice the cast. This is another revolution for Batman the Animated Series, was they treated this as a serious subject. This was not Super Friends. This was a realistic drama with high stakes, and they wanted natural voices, natural sounding voices, not the criminals that go, "Oh, gee, boss, what are we going to do now?"
Right.
They wanted a more serious approach. And Kevin Conroy, for instance, was one of the late auditioners. He trained at Juilliard in New York. He was actually roommates with Robin Williams.
Oh, my.
And he knew Christopher Reeve. They were all friends, So they treated it, and Kevin tells me in his interview, which you'll read in Volume 3, that he treated Batman like Hamlet, as a tragic figure, and imbued Batman with the gravitas of his voice. And so it was a real serious approach to everything, and that's what set the show apart from, say, Goof Troop or Super Friends. Realistic approach.
Well, I feel like this animated series, it was inspired by that '89 Batman, not only in production but probably the tone.
Well, the noir too.
Yeah, the dark. What did you call the animation style?
Dark Deco.
Dark Deco.
That just tickles me. I love it. Okay. Did you talk to anyone? Actually, do you have any interviews in your book about this Dark Deco style and who created that style?
Well, it was helmed by Eric Radomski. And so I talked to him extensively about that, and also Ted Blackman, who is the background supervisor. And then I also talked to the designers of the Batmobile and props, the vehicles, because that had to follow the style of the show that they were looking for. So you've got it covered from every angle. And I've even talked to the composers.
Ooh.
I've got an interview with supervising composer Shirley Walker. I got permission for that one because she passed away before I could have a chance to interview her. But I talked to her proteges. They were Christopher Carter, Lolita Ritmanis, and oh gosh, I can't believe I forgot the third one. Forgive me. But they gathered themselves together in the 2000s as the dynamic music partners. But beforehand, they were trained under Shirley to adapt to her style. And so they carried on that style through Superman, the animated series, New Batman Adventures, and Batman Beyond, and Justice League Unlimited. And so, and in addition to them, I spoke with, or rather, I got the credits for the musicians who didn't get screen credit on the show.
Oh.
Shirley's son, Ian, helped me with the Shirley Walker collection, accessing that at the University of Southern California. So I was able to get a list of the people who worked on those shows that didn't get screen credit at all.
Wow. And each one of these volumes is like, what, almost 900 pages?
First two are over 800, yeah.
Wow.
So you're getting like 4 books for the price of one.
I'll say, wow, this thing is chock full of information.
Yeah, not only are there interviews, but what else can Batman fans find in the books?
Well, I have complete episode guides, not only of the series themselves, but Batman's appearances outside of his own shows, like on Zeta Project, or what else? Static Shock. You're in the direct-to-videos like Batman and Harley Quinn, or Batman and Justice League versus the Fatal Five. I cover all that.
In the words of Gaston, are there pictures in your books?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. A fellow named James Serio had been collecting autographs from the actors, and he would do it by printing out their images of the characters that they voiced, and then the actors would sign it. And so James gave me permission to include them in the book, and I sprinkle them throughout the episode guides.
So not only does this book contain the interviews, but essays and a lot of background information on the series and the episode guides. I think the book should be called The Animated Interviews and a Whole Lot More. Everything you ever needed to know about Batman the Animated Series.
Michael McQuestion, by the way, is the third dynamic music partner. Got to give him credit.
Okay.
That's the whole idea about this book, is it gives everybody credit who made Batman the Animated Series and the spin-offs. This is a tribute to them.
Mm.
And readers can learn what it took to make a successful series, a long-lasting series like Batman. And they can apply those ideas, those secrets of success to themselves. You know what I mean?
Very much.
This is what they did to get the job. This is what they did on the job.
Yeah.
Now, if you study that, you can apply those principles to your own life and benefit from it.
What would Batman do?
No.
This book has got a whole lot more than just the animated series, and I think it's the ultimate Batman compendium that any Batman fan would ever need is right here. Not just want, but need.
Mm.
Now, how difficult was it to tackle such an immense title such as Batman and not have Warner Brothers or DC interfere? Because this is all unauthorized, right?
It is. That's the full title, the unauthorized Batman the Animated Interviews. And yes, I did contact the legal person at DC Entertainment. And as long as the book followed the fair use doctrine, um, it's an educational work. It's really non-commercial. It's educational. It's for research purposes, and it preserves the history of the show, of these shows. And they made sure I put unauthorized, or not unauthorized. I call it the unofficial Batman the Animated Interviews.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on record by saying it is the official. That's just from me. That is from me.
Yeah, the unofficial. But there's an advantage of that, because now the people I spoke with, and most of them are retired now, could talk about the show without Warner's looking over their shoulder.
Right.
You do have a mix of. I mean, they're very frank. A lot of frank information, because I had the nucleus of interviews that I conducted while the show was in production. 30 years later, when I contacted everybody else, they could talk freely about the show. So you got the benefit of their hindsight, and they could reveal things that they couldn't reveal while the show was in production. So you have the full, all the holes filled in the puzzles.
Yeah. And now you say this is a work for like your edification to teach people. So is there an index in these volumes?
All 5 volumes have indexes. A friend of mine, James Patrick Holding in Florida, helped me with this. And it took us about a month per volume.
I believe
to compile these indexes. You guys, from your own books how laborious it takes to do the index.
Mm-hmm.
And I should mention this coincidence. David McDonald was the editor at Starlog and Comic Scene who hired me in the first place. He told me, "All right, interview these guys," and I did. And now, 30 years later, I had him edit the books.
Oh, perfect.
So I hired him to edit the books, and he did some fact checking, that kind of thing. So it's like full circle, and I dedicate volume 2 to him because he was such a pivotal person in my career.
That's awesome. And I love an index because sometimes I don't have time to sit down and read the whole book, or I just want to learn something about, like, Mark Hamill. I think the first thing I would do would just pick up this volume, look up Mark Hamill in the index, and then see where he's mentioned, because that would be my way into this animated series. And then I'm sure I'd be so enthralled with your words that I'd just read the whole thing. But it's that starting point.
Sarah is a lover of index. In fact, it was her that said, before we printed Today in Star Wars History, she said, "Do we need an index?"
Yeah.
It's like, oh no.
We need an index. Another whole week it took us.
Was that? No, I think that was more than a week.
It was a week because we have a program that helped us to do everything. Yeah. But it did take like an entire week.
So Sarah said, "Oh, I can do this overnight." And a week later.
Yeah.
The book also has some interviews that had been previously published. Did you go through these interviews and figure out what has not been covered and focus your interviews on that?
Well, that was part of my research into the whole project. And a lot of these are in volume 5 called Recommended Media, the section called Recommended Media. And so I cite these sources that I, in many cases, actually stumbled across as I was going through the internet. And so there were some interviews with Darwin Cook, for instance, who designed the main title for Batman Beyond. And he directed I think 70th anniversary of Batman, 80th, something like that, for Batman Beyond. It's just like a minute's worth of animation honoring Batman and Batman Beyond. So, but anyway, I got permission to use that interview and some of the interviews that I wasn't able to access. And once again, some of these people had passed away. And so I procured permission to use those interviews as well, because I wanted the scope of the project to be as complete as possible.
Was there a white whale? Someone you really, really wanted to get that you did or did not get?
Yeah, there was, but Warner's has a policy of not letting their employees talk to people who are writing books.
Oh. Interesting.
I'm shocked they didn't say, "All right, Bob, come work with us."
Yeah.
Apparently, you know what's going on, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I appreciate more of the fan work than of the authorized work, because the authorized work, sometimes I will see that they feel like no one's going to question their work, so a lot of stuff is inaccurate. Whereas fans, like we will pour over every small detail to get everything right, not just with publishing, but with costumes. Look at these costumes that go out there; they're just perfect. So fan work, I think, is the highest compliment you can get.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, yeah, and I'm also, I also have animation experience, so I could talk the language with the people I interviewed.
Right, and that's extremely important. I mean, speaking as us who interview people that work in film, it's like, oh, well, you have a knowledge of that, things like that. So that's very important.
Well, you want to talk music? You want to talk creature effects? Yeah,
right.
Sure, come on over.
Exactly.
And yeah, people do really appreciate when you can talk their language, and then when you put it out there, you can talk to people on their level. They may not know everything about music, but Sarah knows how to break it down so the layman can understand what that actually means.
Right. So Bob, speaking as a fan, what do you hope fans who read this will walk away with after reading Batman the Animated Interviews?
Volume 1 through 5.
Well, the whole thing was written as an homage to the people who made the show. It's a landmark show. I want people to take away that this is what it takes to make a show like Batman the Animated Series, what it takes to make a high quality production, and apply the principles involved to their own lives. This is how you can be a success. This is what made them successful. This is what made the show successful. Now apply it to your own lives. Because I made it a point to ask questions of the people I talked to. What do you know now that you wish you would have known at the very beginning?
Right.
And so they would respond that way, and they will make suggestions, and this is what it takes to make to be successful.
So you're hoping that your books will inspire others to create series that we will fall in love with.
But also to remember the people who made these shows. When I was researching this, there's a DVD commentary in which Bruce Timm admitted, he said that when they were getting crewed up for Batman Beyond, the newer people didn't know who Jack Kirby was.
And Bruce Timm is, remind us?
He's the showrunner. He and Eric Radomski were co-executive producers, co-showrunners for Batman the Animated Series. Gotcha. And Jack Kirby was one of the influences. It was a mix of Jack Kirby, Alex Toth, who designed Space Ghost, and the Fleischer Superman cartoons. Those were the big influences on the series, on Batman. And so, the thing is that a lot of the people in the new crews didn't know who Jack Kirby was. Jack Kirby, the king of comics. So Bruce made sure, that they got comics so they could understand who and remember who Kirby really was. So through these books, I want people to remember who made them.
Yeah, very much so. That's when we do our classic Marvel Star Wars comic series. That's one of our mission statements. We want people to understand where Star Wars story has started from, the inspiration, because a lot of stuff from that you can see in the books and the comics and some of the shows all started with the classic Marvel Star Wars comics. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I understand that you want people to understand where this really, really came from. Mm-hmm. Going back to Warner Brothers, did you ever send them a set of these books and go, here you go, this is how it should be done?
No, because they're not published yet.
Okay. Well, right. Will you?
Will I? No, I doubt it.
Yeah, send them a link. This is where you can buy them, Warner Brothers. If you want to learn about your own show, this is where you can buy them.
They can do that. It's available on Amazon. It's available at Barnes & Noble, and it's available from the publisher, which is bearmattermedia.com. So I recommend those venues to buy it, the set. Now, just remember, the set is kind of expensive because it is hardbound and it is in color, all 5 volumes, coming out this Friday on the 15th. But if you want to wait a little bit, the paperbacks will be in black and white, a little cheaper, and out next year at the beginning of February. Beginning in February.
Can you give us an idea of how much each volume will go for?
It's different. It's different. There's not one set price per volume because the page count is different. Volumes 1 and 2 I know are over 800 pages. Again, you're getting a bargain. It's how I see it. If you have 4 200-page books, but it's in one volume. And remember, you're getting a complete history of these shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not just the shows. We're going back to the beginning of where the Batman film, when the negotiations took place back in 1979, which I was very surprised because I was all ready to sit down with these. And thank you so much for sending us these volumes. I was so surprised when I sat down. It's like, oh, wait a minute, he goes into the movies as well. This is comprehensive on Batman.
Well, I had to go into the history, the nucleus, the inspiration for how this show came about. I mean, you have little nuggets like, well, Bruce Timm honed his talents on Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures under John Kricfalusi. And so he states that, yes, that's where he, got his writing style, drawing style all together. So that was an influence.
Yeah, you can tell.
And how long ago did you start writing this? And did you have anyone helping you with research? Because this is a tremendous amount of work.
Well, I started out in the 90s, in 92, with the original interviews.
Wow.
And then about 5 years ago, I decided to make this a regular series. And as word of mouth spread, the larger the books became.
Was it originally just like one volume and then you just kept adding and adding?
Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, the episode guides take up a lot of space as well, plus the illustrations, the autographed images, that kind of thing. So that ate up a lot of space, plus the indexes. Oh, and I can also mention the reviews. I've got some review samplers of each production. I do like a paragraph's worth of extracted from reviews from magazines and newspapers published at the time. So people can read what the press said about these shows.
Oh, that's I love that.
That's a great addition
because it sets it in its time.
Yeah, and once again, when I saw that, I was really, really, I don't want to say shocked because I know when it comes to research, Bob Miller is on the top of the Mount Rushmore of all researchers.
Well, thanks. And some of these I got as tips, like for instance, Jane McCurdy, president of Warner Brothers. When I was talking to her, she mentioned that Randy Rogel, who's responsible for the music on Animaniacs, Randy had written Robin's Reckoning, which won him an Emmy, a Primetime Emmy for the show. And she said, well, he composed a musical, a Batman musical. Oh, really? She says, oh, yeah, you need to talk to him about that. So I did a follow-up interview with him, and he actually performed his musical for me.
Wow.
What?
And so I've he wanted to do a Batman musical that ultimately Warner's turned down, but he performed it and he's letting me publish the lyrics to it. So
is this exclusive to your book?
It is exclusive to the book.
That's amazing.
Wow.
There was a Batman musical that went the rounds later on, but it was not Randy Rogel's version.
Oh, okay.
And there are a couple other exclusives. One is The Wall of Shane in Volume 1, where one of the artists, Shane Poindexter, had caricatures made of him from the crew. The crews made fun of him with these caricatures, and Shane shared them with me, and that's in the book. It's in color if you buy the hardbounds, and they're all really nice, really colorful illustrations. So there's that, and also I have a photo of Cal Dodd. You know who that is?
I don't.
No.
Cal Dodd is the voice of the animated Wolverine.
Okay.
And so shortly before Kevin Conroy died, he had a picture made with Kevin. They're standing side by side in color, and he sent me a high-res photo to use in the book.
Aww.
Wow.
So that. And then the Kevin Conroy tribute is in Volume 3. That's volume 3 is I talk about the new Batman adventures, and then I have a special section on the interviews with the voice actors and Andrea Romano, the voiceover director, and that also includes Will Friedle, who became future Batman.
Wow, so this holiday season, people will need 5 stockings, one for every volume, because these are great stocking stuffers if you have a pretty big stocking that can hold a lot of weight.
Well, can I do a rundown of each volume?
Sure, go ahead.
Volume 1 is the first season of Batman the Animated Series, how it came about, how they made it a success. Volume 2 is Mask of the Phantasm, Season 2 of Batman the Animated Series, and the Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero, which is a direct-to-video. And so that was the last time you saw the old-style designs of Dark Deco. And then Volume 3 goes into the redesign, where in Batman's appearances in the Superman animated series, and then the new Batman adventures, and then all the shows in which he appeared using that design. And Volume 3 again includes the interviews with the cast, focusing on the cast. Volume 4 is Batman Beyond. Volume 5 is Batman in the 2000s, where he appeared in Justice League Unlimited, and the direct-to-videos, and what the crew had to do to deal with slashing of the budgets, because there was major slashing of the budgets at the time. And how did they innovate to keep the shows interesting and fresh?
Wow. So overall, these 5 volumes cover what time frame, like what time period?
Well, I would say 60s with the backstory in volume 1.
Okay.
Because I had to juxtapose why Batman the Animated Series was a blockbuster. Why was it a blockbuster? Because of the way animation was in the 60s and 70s and 80s. It was lackluster, it was bland, there was heavy censorship. And then, so early 60s to, I'd say about 2018.
Okay.
With 2017, that was the release of Batman, Justice League versus the Fatal Five, and the retirement of Alan Burnett from Warner Brothers. He retired. He was pretty much the head writer of the entire DC animated universe, from Batman the Animated Series, and he was there for however long that was, 30 years.
Wow.
But he was a mainstay, and he was responsible for the quality of the productions as well.
In which volume can we find the Mark Hamill interview?
The interview itself was done in Starlog. I think it was written by Kim Johnson, and that is in, and of course, me knowing David McDonald, the editor, he gave me permission to print it. And so you will find that in volume 3. Paul Dini is throughout. He's in all 5 volumes, and he's brilliant. His writing is brilliant. If you've seen the show, you know how good his stories are. Great his stories are.
So look in the index for volume 3.
Okay, I will.
Now that Kevin Conroy had unfortunately passed away, Mark Hamill had said that he's not going to perform the Joker anymore. Who would you want to see take up the mantle as the Joker in animation?
That's a good question. I've never thought about it. When I see a definitive or hear a definitive character voice, Mark Hamill was it. Mark Hamill was the Joker. I mean, prior to him, it would have been Cesar Romero,
right?
From the Adam West show. But I don't know how they could possibly outdo Mark Hamill. Honestly, I'm sure they'll come up with somebody. But I'm fixated on Mark's performances.
Yeah.
He's it.
Yeah, they would need, whoever took up this next Joker performance would have to do a 180. Take what Mark Hamill did and just do something totally opposite.
I have a solution. If you gender bend the Joker and you have Aubrey Plaza do it, because she's just off the wall. I don't know. I think that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, but you know what? For some reason, I don't know why, I'm thinking Macaulay Culkin as the Joker. Because you wouldn't see it coming.
Well, nobody saw Mark Hamill coming as the Joker either. They pegged him as Luke Skywalker. His story was that he voiced Ferris Boyle in the episode Heart of Ice, and so he petitioned the director Andrea Romano, "Hey, yeah, major villains left, maybe the Joker, and that I could try out for." And he's a big Batman fan, and so what happened was that they'd already cast Tim Curry. Sorry, Mark, we've got Tim Curry cast. And then Tim didn't work out. And so they thought about Mark, and he came in and he did an audition, and boom, he landed the role.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Wow.
I liked what Heath Ledger did as the Joker. He looked at Jack Nicholson and said, okay, how can I do a 180 on this? And I think that's what someone needs to do for the Joker, because if they try to do a Mark Hamill impersonation,
right,
it would just, I think they would be fired after the first recording session.
Well, I'm open. Whatever they come up with, we'll see.
All right, I'm saying Macaulay Culkin.
Aubrey Plaza.
And I'm sure that Macaulay would be like, yes, I need to break out of this Kevin McAllister typecast. Please get me in there. Now, you've mentioned the 1970s Super Friends cartoons, which I loved as a kid. I could not get enough of these. You watch these, of course, right?
No, I gravitated away from them because of the shoddy production values at the time. I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. Are you calling the Wonder Twins shoddy? Are you calling Marvin, Wendy, and Wonder Dog shoddy? And let's end this. Let's end this.
No, but you can see them now on MeTV Tunes. So you can get your Super Friends fix there. No, I wanted something with more. Well, Batman was the kind of show that I and many in the animation industry, those are the kind of shows, kind of cartoons we wanted to make. You know, we didn't want the values to be compromised. We didn't want the kind of heavy-handed censorship that Super Friends went through. That said, there is a show on Super Friends that Alan Burnett wrote, an episode called The Fear, which depicted the first on-screen death of Bruce Wayne's parents. And so that was on the legendary Superpowers show, and that was serving as a pilot for an animated Batman. But ABC frowned on it. But you can say that Super Friends did provide the opportunity to do that kind of thing. So there you go.
Oh, did not know that.
Learned something
And
new.
that is in volume 1.
I haven't gotten through all 894 pages just yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay, before we wrap up, can you explain to me the origins and what is going on with Batmite?
No.
It's just like in the what was it? The 60s, every cartoon series had to have a little
kid,
elfish type of character.
Oh.
Like Flintstones had Gizmo.
The Great Gazoo.
Gazoo, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman had this little Batmite.
Well, Batmite did make an appearance in a later Batman episode.
Oh.
It was a robot.
Oh, that's not fair.
You need a cute character, I guess, to bring in
Yeah,
the little girls
Scooby-Doo.
or something?
Scooby-Doo had Scrappy-Doo. So
Okay.
every one of these cartoons had this little cute character they would bring in the little kids.
Interesting.
That's true. That's why Fox wanted to emphasize more appearances with Robin in the second season of Batman. And then they aged Dick Grayson for the new Batman adventures and brought in Tim Drake as a younger Robin, hoping that kids would gravitate to watching the show because there's a character their age out fighting crime. And then for almost the same reason, they brought in Batgirl as a recurring character because they wanted to promote the synergy with, I think it was called Batman Forever. I think Batgirl was prominently featured in that. But the strategy didn't work. They canceled the new Batman adventures. They canceled it after one season because they were not getting the demographic that Warner's was looking for. So what they did was they wanted a teenaged Batman. And so they called, the high executive called Bruce Timm, Gene McCurdy, and some others in a meeting. And they said, why don't we why don't we have Batman going around the world before he was Batman, and he's 17 years old, and Bruce Timm was rolling his eyes, and he says, well, throwing out all the continuity in the, not only in the comic books, but in the animated series? Really? So sort of in a desperate ploy to keep the integrity of what they had done already in the original Batman series, it was suggested that, okay, why don't we put this show in the future? We'll still have Bruce Wayne as an 80-year-old, but then we'll have a 17-year-old Batman, as his protege, the future Batman. And so that's where Batman Beyond came from, because Warner's wanted to appeal to a younger demographic, because it's the younger bunch that supposedly buys the toys that gives the revenue to the corporations.
Right.
That's the purpose. That's the purpose of Batman the Animated Series and its spin-offs. Was it was basically advertising the toys for people to buy to finance the shows. It's like cyclical,
Yeah.
Wow.
So when people say, "Oh, you're just trying to merchandise this, trying to market this," like, yes, if you want more, we've got to make more money. That comes from the merchandising. So look at it that way, not just like we're a money-hungry studio. It all works from the merchandising, which is why at Disneyland, you walk out of an attraction into a gift shop. It all comes from the merchandising. All right, so Bob, tell people where they can get your books once again.
Okay, you can order them online at barnesandnoble.com, off of amazon.com, and directly from Bear Manor Media. Bear Manor is one word, BEARMANOR, media.com, and you can order directly from the publisher. And that sort of, if you order directly from them, that cuts out the middleman of the online retailers. That cuts out Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And so you can do that. And there are other online bookstores that are selling copies as well. I would urge fans to also request their libraries to order copies. Have the libraries order the set, and also ask for getting copies at your local comics book shop. Let them know, hey, I'd like to order this, and spread the word that way. And if you like the books, if you order it online through Amazon or Barnes & Noble, please leave a review. Tell us how much you like it, because we need the reviews. It's very helpful, as you guys well know.
Yes. Done and done. We'll get to that today.
Yeah.
With that review. Now, if Batman were to wrap up this segment, what would he say? He wouldn't say anything. He would just swish his cape.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was an Adam West Batman, stay straight, citizens.
Oh my God. Wow. All right.
That'll be used.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, Bob. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Rich and Sarah. You guys are great.
Shout outs. Skywalker shout outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout out. Who was photobombed? Shout out. Who was shared a post? Shout out.
Now we're gonna start our Thanksgiving celebration by giving thanks to you, the Skywalking Force, for making this show happen for 11 years and 491 episodes later.
So many, many thanks to Anthony Kakias,
Blessed Cheesemaker,
Bryn McKinnon,
Carl Fox,
Chica Fent,
Christopher Marino,
Courtney Turkel,
Dale Erdman,
Darren Irvine,
Dave Kerwin,
Don Glover,
hey Don, Derek Beebe,
Garrett Sessions,
Glenn Stein,
Jeremy and Heather Hunt,
John Liang,
John Zancanaro,
Jonathan Chiato,
Jordan Paley,
Julie Caruana,
Julie and James Gildersleeve,
Justin Smith,
Cato Toby Ryder,
Kelly Turkel,
Kristen Carr from Happiest Club on Earth,
Laura Bryce,
Leanne Nelson,
Meredith Duckworth,
Michael Corbett,
Michael Knipp,
Mike Ward,
Nancy Steinman,
Patrick Pine,
Patty Hammond,
Patty Nazarian,
Peter and Norma Heitman,
Reynold Gobey,
Robert Avia,
Ryan Wiltberger,
Sasha Barrios,
Scott Carmichael,
Scott Hume,
Taryn Bench from Benchlandia,
Wesley Meecombs,
William Magalio,
and Wynn Patterson.
Yay me, says Don. Love it.
So thank you once again to everyone who contributes to the Skywalking Force, our Patreon. Much, much appreciated. If you notice, we're coming a little bit more clear because of the camera we were able to purchase with the Skywalking Force funds.
That's right. So thank you so much. You help us improve and make sure that our content improves for you. And that's the most important part. Well, that wraps up episode 491 of
Skywalking Through Neverland. We want to thank Bob Miller for coming on the show and sharing everything about Batman the Animated Series in his new book series, Batman the Animated Interviews. And we want to thank all you Skywalkers for watching the show, for listening to the show, for all you do for the Skywalking Network.
You can also find us in between shows on our social media. That's at Skywalking Pod.
Now, do you have something that you want to share? We got tons of things that we want to share, so we made it its own show. Things We Want to Share, which goes up every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube. This is a live show. We share what we've done that week, went to a Disney park, or our shows, what we have coming up for the Skywalking Network, and then we invite you on the show to share what you've done.
Yeah, this week is going to be heavily influenced by you. You guys are going to come on and share some products, share some stuff. It'll be really fun.
Now, are you interested in our books? Autographed copies of Today in Star Wars Histories, Volume 1 and 2, and Skywalking Through My Fandom, the interactive notebook, are available now from skywalkingthrough.neverland.com/book. And they too make a great stocking stuffer.
Yes, and these are the only place you can get the books autographed, and also the only place you can get hardcover copies at this point. So that's where you need to go, skywalkingthrough.neverland.com/book.
And once they're out, they're out.
Yes.
Now, do you want to support Skywalking Through Neverland? Well, once again, we want to remind you of the Skywalking Force. That is where you can contribute to the Skywalking Network, and every month we give you a shout out.
Now, this bonus content begins at only $5 a month. Head to skywalkingforce.com and have a look at the options. And thank you so much to those of you who are already part of the Skywalking Force. I counted today, there's 46 of you.
Wow.
I was like floored.
Every 46 of you, we cannot thank you enough for making this happen. And Don Glover says in the Sky Chat, I can see clearly now that the camera has improved.
Good,
yes.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be a big improvement. Yeah, so good. I'm glad you can tell.
Now, we want to thank our sponsor as well, Small World Vacations, for their continued support. Thinking of a trip to a Disney park or on a Disney cruise? You can fill out a Get a Quote form at smallworldvacations.com today. Their vacation planning service is free of charge, so check them out and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
Now, Skywalkers, get ready. Get ready. It's time. We are part of the Skywalking Network.
Skynet.
Where you can find other great shows like Talking Apes,
The Neverland Clubhouse,
the Max Effects Podcast,
Totally Tell Me Everything,
Star Warsologies,
and the YouTube shows Collectopolis and Today in Star Wars History. Now, don't forget to stick around for bloopers and other fun bits that didn't make it into the show. And
always remember,
when you leave a room, do a Batman swoosh with your cape.
And
Neverland on Alderaan.
Yay.
Guess what today's theme is about? That's right, Aquaman.
That's right. The best Batman logo from 1989. None of this blocky Batman crap logo.
Ben Affleck.
I
rectangle.
I freaking hate
That's a
that
rectangle.
Thing. I hate it.
Probably the worst. Even the Adam West Batman was very, very crunched.
Really? Yeah, I hate that with a passion.
I recall you worked at Starlog, And I recall around 1980, there was an article about the live-action Batman theatrical film coming soon to a theater near you in 1981. Do you recall if this is something that you had written while?
No, no, no. It took it. That's when probably Michael Uslan signed the deal to make the 1989 Batman. It took him that long. It took him 10 years to actually get the funding and the studio support to have the thing made.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of that Starlog article, when I read that part in your book, my cranial archives just went spinning. It's like, where did I read that in Starlog before? So I went hunting for that article, and here it is in issue number 31 of Starlog, where it announces the Batman film coming to a theater near you, Christmas 1981. They missed that date by 8 years, but still, it was worth the wait.
Jetsons? Did Jetsons?
No. The Flintstones had that little space Martian.
Okay.
Whose name I'm forgetting. I'm gonna call him Gizmo, but I don't know, that's not it. Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.